Welcome everyone, this is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. And this particular episode will be my finale, episode 52, that's releasing today, May the 27th, 2019. And this particular finale podcast episode, it is entitled, In the Divine Power of a Nubian King of Akun. So in this particular episode, we're going to wrap it up my season for season 2, 2018 to 2019, as I prepare to return back for season 3, 2019 to 2020. So let's go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining me this year. Please look out for the next podcast I do release during the summer, and the next one will be June the 17th. So you can look at those dates for July and August as well. It would be in the podcast description. So I just want to say thank you for everyone for sending out or, sharing my podcast. I did see a lot of other places that people came out from different places around the world to check out my podcast. So continue to share it and continue to follow this here, where I focus on my short stories that's based on my book, Mitsrayim. And I really do appreciate the support. So let's talk about now and move forward to the highlights for this week. It is going to wrap up some of the things that I started in the short stories dealing mostly with MOLIAE. I'm going to kind of give you introduction of what a forward information about what happened next, okay, and what will possibly happen in the future from this timeline, right? And what happened, last week was when the Dawn takes over the King Rays. Please check that out, that episode 51, and that's basically where King Mahlon moved forward and he received the message from Queen Hagar from Ezra after something else happened, in a sense of a few people was trying to enter the palace, and it led to Ezra to get involved and to realize that someone entered the domain of Tiamat, and King Mahlon got that message. So go ahead and check out that podcast. Please go ahead and download my app for this podcast. The other ones are being revamped, so continue to check that during the summer. And of course, look out for my once a month podcast that I will release. To find out what's going on with my podcast for next season 3, check out that episode that I released, bonus announcement. I did that about 2 weeks ago, this month in May. All right, so thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get started. So let's begin. For this week of my season 2 podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, for episode 52, entitled, In the Divine Power of a Nubian King of Akun. Opening scene. Deep in the dense wilderness of vast fields of bushes and trees, we see Nontu continuing to fight with his loyal soldiers, now a few kilometers from awaiting the boat just afar over the last field of the mountain ridge behind them. Suddenly, it was Lanko that seemed to jump out of nowhere and before Nontu with 2 swords of their homeland ready to strike at Nontu, and they both started at one another, back and forth through the continued King Rays for another moment. It was Lanko that refused to fall as he continued to strike against Nontu. Lanko, your choice to besiege me will be your last, Nontu spoke with persistence. He continued onward to strike against his once military officer. What fool you are, and you will pay for the fall of Echo, Lanko said, without a moment left, another swipe at Nontu. Then Lanko spoke once more. And I am not alone here to defeat you for your betrayal. Lanko then slowly smiled as he calculated his next move's sword. Nontu was confused of his statement of truth, but quickly moved up to a higher level stone to fight Lanko as he despised him so. Meanwhile, on the outskirts where Lanko forces continued to capture Nontu, it was General Tekun under King Mahlon rule with both Siberian and Mitsrayim forces that would soon approach the fighting of the fields of men below. Now, still in the King Rays of a new time of its placement over Tiamat, in the other end of the Sudan, we are in Mitsrayim. We see King Mahlon walking ahead of 4 high military rank officers down the hallway leading inside the already lit pyramid with some light along with other fellow members of the Theos of Akun rows of male standing against the wall, waiting for King Mahlon to enter. They were holding lit torches as they continued to watch King Mahlon walk further into the Akun entrance of the third pyramid. We see King Mahlon walking ahead of 4 high military rank officers down the hallway leading inside the already lit pyramid. Ezra, the herbalist and scientist of Theos of Akun of Mitsrayim, was also awaiting King Mahlon. He was already midway inside the corridor of the pyramid. Tales of old spoke of Osiris left strips of gold on the floors as hieroglyphs continue to flow on the walls, and of Cimmerian symbols followed as King Mahlon continued to walk further inside. Directly outside the Akun entrance to the hallway walkway leading to Ezra, right outside we see King Kohan, Elder Tahib, and his 20 temple elites elders, as well as Queen Hagar with young Princess Hannah, holding both her mother and her grandmother's Queen Meme hand. About 40 Mitsrayim guards were outside of the mid-array near the closed doors leading to the pristine royal family location as they await King Mahlon to enter and then to return out of the pyramid. King Mahlon, back inside of the east of the pyramid, made it to Ezra, and they both walked side by side further into the pyramid. The 12 Theos rows of males walked further behind them, but at a distance as Ezra motioned them to proceed, for which King Mahlon commanded them to do. As the 12 male Theos or robes came around in front of them in this enclosed area in the pyramid that no one else could see but them there, it was King Mahlon staring at what his ancestors bestowed upon him. He nodded for Ezra to continue. Ezra did as he motioned for the opening of the Ikma in MOLIAE book. King Mahlon walked up to the right circle block of the solid gold stone tableau as it risen from below upward. After Ezra spoke of the age of Sumna book, and behold, King Mahlon saw for which he came for, as it came more into view, it was the star of Mitsrayim. He reached for it so that the synergy of his adorned rulership of Akun would be recognized by the divine. Back in the south of Zidane, Nontu managed to push back Lanko and was about to make it alongside the upper ridge of the mountain to the awaiting boat when another fight broke out against his man on the far right. It was of Sabarian and Mitsrayim. Knowing that time was not on his side, Nontu commanded his regime to run the other way, which would be to the Sabarian forces. When suddenly he remembered what General Tekun forewarned him, he pondered which way to go, for his capture was imminent now. Then suddenly he stood still. He felt a chill and suddenly turned around, and he saw Hanee heading his way, walking with many of their own. Nontu slowly laid down his weapons and motioned for his soldiers to do as well. Hanee walked through the Orion guards, their parted ways, and Hanee looked at him within inches before speaking with disdain and calmness. Hanee spoke. Echo is alive, my brother. Still resistant to the objective, Nontu responded. You always sided with him over your own. Hanee retained his composure, for he knew their law of prominence of order. You will fall upon our return to Orion at your judgment. Meanwhile, what seemed as Aspu raised a most to lean forward in claiming a new realm of moment. We see King Mahlon with 1/8 of the Aspu of Mitsrayim. He had it fastened inside of his garment attached to his royal breastplate, riding on royal horses along with Comrade General Tekun and King Kohan and many Mitsrayim guards along with Sabarian as well guards, to the destination that Ezra instructed them to, where Hanee of Orion would embark against the skies of Tiamat. Suddenly, rows of fields overhead of many kilo distance from the area of Mitsrayim, we see King Mahlon jump off his royal horse and started running, as others in his reign followed suit. It was both King Mahlon and General Tekun in a loud voice to urge Mahlon to take caution, for they knew he was in a furious state to start the war he felt was made once more. Suddenly, King Mahlon removed the 1/8 of their star from inside his secured royal breastplate and started circling around for strength. Through the wind, we could see King Mahlon threw it to aim it at about 90 degrees to the northwest, towards the dome that he knew was holding Hanee. In the skies, the dome of Hanee of Orion started to trek into the next altitude above of those below, when his highest military rank officer came in a hurry as lights blinked. King Mahlon, he is a part of their star. He knows we are here. Hanee felt it as such. Looking through the crystal obviance, he saw the direction of King Mahlon aiming his fury of their entry into the domain of Tiamat. Hanee, not looking at his officer, spoke. Is Echo secured? His officer nodded, still with worry for the impact approaching. Hanee continued, still looking ahead. Is Nontu on board? The officer nodded, looking over his shoulder as he motioned some of the remaining guards to leave the deck. Hanee spoke again. Have the Linos been left behind for the next dawn? The officer nodded as he started to gather more items from the deck. Hanee continued. Then debark in the sides or two. It will give you all the time you need. The officer interceded. Echo will not stand well without the incumbent of this domain. Hanee shook his head. There was no time. Their star will soon hit us. So before another one, most of you leave. Now, I will follow in the one Padun. The officer nodded, as you wish, Commander, and he vanished with the others. As Hanee braced for the impact, their star did hit the side rim of the dome. Darkness and smoke filled the area. Hanee started to withdraw the knowledge that was inside within the dome, that started to fall from above to below. Within moments later, Hanee jumped into one of the Padun and ejected. Meanwhile, on the terrain for which King Mahlon held out his hand to receive the return of the 1/8 star, he grasped it tightly in his hand, still staring at the dome as if before looking into Hanee's eyes, giving a message of dominance of his rule as King Mahlon of Mitsrayim over Tiamat. It was General Tekun that spoke as he was in awe for what he saw. Now he know where you stand, and they are no more. King Mahlon, still with a Julian knowledge of them, shook his head before he ran back to his horse to trace down the falling dome debris. Before turning to head in the direction, he turned around and spoke to them. It is not. Hanee left other students here before his escape, so I will take this war to them. End scene. This concludes the final episode of my Season 2, 2018 to 2019. Thank you so much for joining me this past year for my season here at Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. I hope you enjoyed these short stories, these series of stories, Atlantis, Mahogany, of course, MOLIAE. I'm thinking of doing a new modern day short story this summer, and I just want to really appreciate and say that I appreciate your support and sharing my podcast, following it. Please continue to follow MOLIAE on Facebook and on Twitter. Please also look at my other podcasts as well, and if you like it, share it. So looking forward to the summer and for Season 3, 2019 to 2020. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful summer. See you next year.